Here's what I don't understand is that there's some teams out there that the manager doesn't have as much communication with like the sporting director and the board when it comes to the transfers of the players, which makes no sense because you can't buy a player that you like, but then you're not the one that's coaching them. You're not the one that's telling them that what position that they can play in. So Georgie sent me a quote from Bobby Firmino when he was at Liverpool with the Rodgers, right?
Yeah, Brendan Rodgers.
And Brendan Rodgers, so Firmino's like, I was put out of position. I had no idea. I'd never played that position before. At one point, I felt like I was basically playing like a fullback. And he's like, and I wasn't going through my best moment. He's like, and then I found out that Rodgers did not want me. The board wanted me, but he wanted, who was it that he was competing against?
Benteke,
Christian Benteke. And so he was like saying, once I realized that Brendan Rodgers didn't want me on the team, then it all made sense to me as to why I was playing out of position, why I didn't feel comfortable, and why I felt like there was no confidence in me as a player. He's like, I found out that the decision was strictly by the scouting department, and he was the one that brought in Benteke, and the scouting department was like, well, we're going to get both of them, and we'll let them compete for the spot, but it doesn't matter because at the end of the day,
they're two different, drastically different players, those two.
Yeah, but Brendan Rodgers is the one that makes the decisions as to who plays where. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, if he would have liked Firmino, he would have put Firmino as a striker, and then he would put Benteke as a winger or as an outside back, and then it would have been the same situation, just flipped, right? So that's why I don't understand a lot of these managers. And I get it if you're not such a big name, like if you're Mourinho, Guardiola, Klopp, all these guys, as soon as they have contract negotiations with teams, they tell them, I want full control of the transfers.
Yep.
It needs to be my decision to be like fully approved at the end. But some of these managers that aren't so well known probably can't afford to do that. See, they can't do that in their conversations.
As I guess, question for you then, Javi, coaching. For me, I think if that was the case, I would rather go to a lesser team where I know I'm going to have control over who's sitting on the bench and who's on the field and like who's actually in the locker room. Would you turn down a top-tier job? Let's say, let's use Graham Potter as an example. If at Brighton you can pick all of the players and all the transfers in and transfers out, would you leave and go to Chelsea knowing you don't have the same luxury there? I would rather stay, personally, at Brighton. What about you?
I would go to the bigger club because at the end of the day, if
Really?
you have better, because the smaller clubs, you might have control of who you can get, but you're even more limited because you don't have the money. Yeah, you don't have the money to be able to buy real legit players. Whereas if you tell me I'm going to buy you the most expensive player or one of the most expensive players, even though you don't like him, it's like, hey, at least we know he's going to be somewhat legit. It's just about how I use him. Versus hey, we'll let you get whoever you want. However, your budget is $45 million on one player. And you're like, all of a sudden you're very limited, right?